All right. So, hey guys, I'm Andy, your local manifestation coach or resident manifestation coach here online. And again, today, my intention for everyone is to start to look at manifestation from a reverse engineering perspective. We talk about be, do, have as a guiding principle, and it's one of the foundational principles of manifestation that you have to be the person in order to do the thing, in order to have what you want. But what does that really mean? And, a lot of people start to feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything that they tell me to do. I'm doing everything that I quote unquote should be doing, and I'm not getting what I want. So today we're going to talk about this process of getting out of your own way to get what you want. And through divine guidance, through, no longer hustling, no longer grinding, through the art of allowing, how we're going to start to call in the things that we truly, deeply want from a soul level, not just the cash and prizes, but what we truly, deeply desire. Okay, so success is not something you acquire. It's something you emanate. And I love this quote, but it is so vague. People tell you all the time that you have to live in the end, you have to act as if, you have to embody the thing that you want to manifest, you have to already envision having the thing. But reality talks to you differently. Reality is showing you what you don't have. And so you feel like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to feel like I have the partner already. I'm supposed to feel like I have the job already. I'm supposed to feel like I have the health or the body that I want already. But when I look in the mirror, when I look at my bank account, when I look at, my empty bed, I like reality is telling me I do not have these things. So how can we create an environment that's like, yeah, I have these things, but not really. And so today we're going to get into that. We're going to start talking about what does that actually mean to embody the thing that you have? How do you emanate from the frequency of having? And so just to give a little bit of background about myself, as I mentioned, I've been manifesting my entire life. And the first thing that I ever consciously manifested was a broken leg. And this broken leg was like, everybody's like, why would you manifest a broken leg? Like, who does that? Well, you have to think about what was it that that broken leg was going to give me. When I was in the first grade, I remember seeing another little girl who had broken her leg, and the people were doting on her. They were caring for her. They brought her presents. They really showed that they cared about this little girl. Now, I'm a latchkey kid. I was home alone 12, 14 hours a day, have to put myself to sleep, have to find forage for my own food. And so to me, that when she broke her leg, I connected in my head that that was the way to get the love, the attention, the care that comes with that. So a month later, I break my leg. But what happened? I break my leg, and I mean, my mom still had to work. My dad still had to work. So I came up and I was like, okay, well, that's not the thing. The broken leg was not the thing. The thing I wanted behind all of that was the love, the care, the support, somebody doting on me, somebody giving me presents. Those were the things that I really craved, but I had connected in my head that the way to get that was to break a leg. And how many times have we manifested things like a job, and we get to the job and we're like, man, I hate this job. Or we manifest a partner and we're like, man, I hate this guy. Like, or I hate this person. Like, they're not nice to me. They're not kind to me. They cheated on me. How did that happen? Or we manifest losing some weight only to realize, like, I hate going to the gym. I hate eating, bird food, like, and shadows for breakfast. Like, I want to eat something that I enjoy. And so we revert back to our initial state of not having a partner because we leave them, not having the job because we leave it, not having the body because we go back to the old habits that were our comfort zone. So really digging deep into what it is that we want is what's going to get us there. So next, so the conditional model of life traps us into this permanent cycle of waiting. It's like when I have enough time, enough money, when I have the partner, when I have the job, then I'm going to start building my business. Then I'll start, doing homemaking. Then I'll do this, then. So I can finally have the peace. Then I can finally have the security. But that's just an illusion. That is the thing. It's always looking at the external to try to fill the internal gap of lack, the internal gap of I don't have, the internal gap of how is it that I can, feel better now by slapping on a Band-Aid from the outside to make me feel whole. When really that's just a trap, is because we then start attracting people, places, situations, things that we do not want. So if we look at the different models, so the conditional model is I'm going to have the thing, then I'll start doing the thing, and then I'll be happy, I'll be satisfied. But the generative model, which is where we want to come from, where we're generating in our life the things that we actually want, is figuring out how to be the person that already has the whole feeling, that already has the complete feeling, who already has the satisfied feeling, to start doing things that a person who feels complete, a person who feels whole, a person who feels satisfied would do in order to have the things that really are soul aligned. So instead of having the external and waiting for that external thing to prove to us what we need to feel, we start to become that person first. So instead of outside in, it's inside out. So when we start to expect the things on the outside, those are generally coming from feelings like fear, guilt, shame, desperation, friction. Those are coming from negative and low vibration feelings. Whereas the generative model, where we're generating things that we love, come from inspiration, alignment, love, care, joy, amusement, happiness, all those like high vibration, ecstatic, wonderful, beautiful feelings. And so obviously, what's the result from these two models? When you're expecting the outside, you're going to get exhausted. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to feel like everything is a grind and a slog and like you're not making any progress. But when you're generating from that soul alignment, you're going to start to get momentum. You're going to start to build. You're going to start to feel like the next thing can be better, can be greater, can be more amazing, and expecting good outcomes rather than just expecting the bare minimum to satisfy that deep craving that's within you. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I always liken this to a fruit tree. I really love this idea because when we are manifesting whatever we want, we have to take a look at the roots. The roots are going to be our identity because those are going to ground us in the behaviors that we really want. So the subconscious beliefs, your core beliefs, the self-concept, your vibrational state, the things that you think, the things that you say, the things that are programmed into you from childhood, from society, from your parents, from experiences that you had. All of these things create the foundation in which everything that you manifest is built from. And then we go up into the trunk. That's the stability. That's the core. That's the meat of it. Those are the habits, systems, the way that we execute our daily behaviors. But if we're doing all of those and our foundation is already shaky, if our foundation is already putrefied from those negative self-beliefs, then the trunk isn't going to be anywhere solid. And I'm going to say that I've seen this, but really I have lived this, is when I have manifested from a place of fear, doubt, and insecurity, and I've done things out of desperation, everything that I have ever gotten from that, I've lost, turned to ash, turned to dust, just been taken from me. And I sit there not having the thing that I thought I wanted. And I'm like, what happened? And it's because nothing becomes sustainable when coming from the roots that are not who you are, doing actions that aren't who you want to be to get things that you truly don't even want. And so that's the fruit that you bear. That's the amazing wealth, relationships, health, influence. That's the cash and prizes right there. Now, can you manifest a relationship from fear, doubt, and insecurity? Absolutely. Is it going to be one that you really want, though? Probably not. Can you manifest a job from fear, doubt, and insecurity? Absolutely. But is it going to be a job that fulfills you? Probably not. Can you manifest a healthy body from fear, doubt, and insecurity? Absolutely. But are you going to go back to your old habits? I'm going to say probably. So you have to have this synergistic outlook on how you're manifesting. So the roots, foundationally, who are you? Who are you becoming? What are your thoughts? What are the belief systems that you have? And start to work with those to really start to align yourself with what you're doing in a way that supports who you are. And then you get to the place and bear the fruit. That's the tree model right there. So let's talk about B. So B is the foundational state of your subconscious identity. This is really the meat and the potatoes of it all. This is like the core concept of every single thing that you've ever manifested, the things that you're manifesting now, and the things that you will ever manifest in the future. So the subconscious anchor, that's 95% of your mind dictating your worthiness and your default reality. But it's not just about that. It's about your vibration. It's about your happiness. It's about the internal story of who am I? All of these three different aspects that come into play are, frankly, three different aspects that you have to be constantly working at. Now, I always say manifestation is easy. Becoming the person who consciously manifests, that's really hard. Because you have to be willing to get in there and look at those subconscious anchors. You have to be willing to go into your self-concept. You have to be going in there to see what is your baseline when somebody comes into your world. Like, how are you emanating joy, happiness, and love? How are you emanating these high vibration things? Or are you even doing that? And doing this self-examination requires a lot of trust, requires a lot of depth, requires sometimes guidance from a coach, requires really getting into not just the surface of your life. It's really getting into what's going on behind the scenes. So the aligned action of do. So there are two ways to look at what you do. It's doing things from fear, down, insecurity, and doing things from an aligned place. So if you're doing something without being, the action is going to feel like you're two separate people. It's like, who is this person? I know that, and I'm going to use this as an example. I know that I have been in relationships that I have like really worked hard to keep the man or keep the relationship. And when it ended, I'm like, why did I do those things? Why did I compromise who I am for somebody? Why did I step out of my own soul aligned actions in order to force something that didn't want to be forced? Now, that can also happen at a job. That's happened to me when I was an engineer for 10 years. I stayed there miserable because it was giving me money. I stayed there miserable because it gave me a sense of security. And when I left there, I'm like, man, why did I stay there so long, hating every single day of going into this job when it felt like I was forcing my life for what I thought I wanted? And when you flip the script and you're doing from a sense of being, you start to create something beautiful. You start to create a relationship that's respectful, kind, loving, caring, supportive. You start to create healthier habits in your life that fit your lifestyle. You know, when you want to go out, that you're happy and supported and you're making decisions that align with your goals and your dreams. And you get into a career or a path or start a business that, you know, every single day you get to wake up and you're like, oh my God, this is my job. How exciting. I'm so excited to do this thing because I know that this is my passion. This is my dream. And I get to make money doing it, right? So you can feel energetically the difference of doing without being, because you're doing something thinking it's going to give me what I want to have versus doing something because I get to be the person who I want to be. So when you look at those two ways, you feel energetically the difference in what it is that you're doing. All right. So have. This is the cash and the prizes, the thing at the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the road. And now we always look at what we want as the money, the time, the love, the resources. And those are things that will become a natural byproduct when you really identify what's behind those things. Okay. So now, I'm going to say something a little controversial, and I just want you to keep an open mind, is that everything in your life right now, from your relationship status to your financial status, to your health status, to your career status, your purpose status, every single aspect of your life, you have manifested that. You have brought it into your life. Now, I say this with love and compassion, that not from a victim blaming kind of way, not like you deserve it, you know, that's your problem, but now hoping to bring into your awareness that you have control, that before we were manifesting from a place of lack of control, lack, from feeling and scarcity and the mindset of, I need to have this external thing. But once you recognize that you have control, once you recognize that, oh, if I created this, then I can create something I actually love. That to me is empowering. That to me is the gift of all gifts, is that I get to be the version of myself that is creating the next level, the next beautiful thing. And that I know that the next thing I create, whatever it is leading me to ecstasy. It's leading me to, you know, bliss, to the Garden of Eden. And so don't take that, you know, what's happening in your world right now as a bad thing. It's feedback. It's saying, hey, there's a mindset in there. There's a belief in there. There's a fear in there that we need to address before we can take you to the real thing that you want. So it's not that you're to blame. It's not that you're doing something bad. It's that it's just feedback. It's information. So I always liken it to, you know, when babies start to walk. It's like, you're not going to blame the baby because they didn't know how to walk. When they fall, you're not going to say, ha, stupid baby. You're going to sit there and say, okay, they didn't know. We help them back up and we keep it moving. They're learning. And this is all a learning process. So if you have things going on in your life and for me, there's always a little bit of chaos happening in my world. To me, that's like the spice of life. But that I get to take that information and I get to transform it. And I get so excited whenever I find a new aspect of myself that I get to work on. Like I'm absolutely a self-help junkie fan, because for me, being able to build something, I'm like, oh, if I got to this level with this old thought, what level can I get to when I break into that new thought? So it's really exciting stuff when you think about it. All right, let's keep going. So, outperforming your self-image triggers immediate subconscious sabotage. So, let's think about if you somehow acquire the thing, whatever it is, love, money, happiness, wealth, health, whatever it is, but you don't become the version that can sustain it. Unconsciously, you're going to wind up sabotaging yourself. You're going to get into a relationship with somebody who's amazing, but then you're like, oh, they're boring. You're going to get a job that pays a lot of money, but you're just not going to show up fully yourself and maybe just not even show up to your job. You're going to show up and have that killer body, but then you're going to be so afraid to even exist in that body because you haven't worked on the things that never got corrected. And so you'll wind up subconsciously sabotaging yourself. Like, you're going to get found out. You cannot hide from reality. You cannot outperform your subconscious. I've learned that many times the hard way. You cannot outperform your subconscious. It's always watching. It's always paying attention. It's always saying, oh, you're doing that, but we don't believe that. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, so you're faking it. Okay, well, one day the fake is going to get tiring, and subconscious, I'm here, I'm going to come out. So it's always going to come back out to a place that's going to be real. And you will always, always lose the things that you thought you wanted, because those programs, if you don't address them, if you don't embody them, the thing that you built was never on a real foundation. So next, let's reframe our stagnant desires into real identities, okay? So sometimes when we are thinking about the things that we want, we think about the thing, again, we fall into the trap. We think about the thing that will give us the feeling that we want. So here are a few examples. So I want a 7-8 figure business. I want to be successful. I want a job that pays me a lot of money. Now, instead of thinking about the external thing, we have to think about the be aspect of it. Who do I need to be in order to create that thing, right? I'm decisive, I'm value creating, I'm a visionary, I'm creative, having these wonderful thoughts about yourself, about what it means to be a 7-figure business owner or a C-suite executive, rather than thinking, I want to be the C-suite executive, rather than thinking, I want to be the multi-figure business owner, we have to think about who's going to be that person, because that's actually going to start to reveal to us what are some of the self-limiting beliefs that we have. So let's take the second one. So I want to find a loving partner. We transform that into, I am complete, I am joyful, I'm a deeply loving and caring individual. Okay. So what if we thought that finding a loving partner actually meant you had to give up your career? What if that program was working in the background and saying, oh, actually, if I have a loving career, or if I have a loving partner, then I have to give up my career, because then he's going to want to get married or she's going to want to get married. And then they're going to want to have kids. And that means that I'm not going to be able to dedicate my time to my business. Then I'm not going to be able to go to the gym as much as I want. Oh, actually having kids is going to destroy my body. So that one thought of, wanting the loving partner, you start to actually see what are the programs that are running behind that. Who do you need to be? What do you need to embody? When you ask yourself that question, you start to see, oh, wait a minute. If I have that thing, it's actually going to take away from this other part of me. So subconsciously, you're going to wind up self-sabotaging, like we talked about in the last slide. So again, even with the last one, I want to lose 30 pounds. We think, oh, I'm an athlete who honors my body. Okay. But that means that now I can only eat salads. Well, that means that I have to go to the gym 7 days a week. That means that, and these things might absolutely not be true, because that actually is very harmful, going to the gym 7 days a week to most people. So we start to figure out, oh, what are these things that I feel like I have to do in order to get there? And you start to bump up against those self-limiting beliefs. You start to bump up against, oh, those thoughts that are playing in the background that actually, I don't want that. I want the body. I want the loving partner. I want the business. I want the purpose. But the person that I need to become in order to get there, I actually don't think I want to do that. And so you start to really piece apart who you need to be versus who you think you need to be. And that will unearth so many different self-limiting beliefs. That one exercise itself has revolutionized the way that I personally have manifested things in my life. So reprogramming the core requires confronting those things that you have in your subconscious. Like I said before, coming from a place of, who do you need to be, and really doing the inner deep dive. Now, there are several different ways in which I like to do this. So in the last slide, we talked about looking at what's the vision of the person that I need to be in order to have that thing. Who is that future version of me who has the business, who has the loving partner, who has the body, who has the money, so who is that future version of myself? And that gap between who I think I need to be and who I really am creates this gap. It's that space. And all of the things that you learned as a child, all the things that you learned from social media, TV, music, magazines, movies, all the things that you learned from your experiences, even with your family, extended family, your friends, society at large, all of those things that you have adopted into your subconscious, we get to start looking at those. We get to start examining those. And we start to really rewrite the story of, wait a minute, do I actually believe that? Do I actually believe that if I'm in a very successful relationship, that means I can't have a business? Does that mean that I can't, if I have children, that means that I can't go to the gym? We start to challenge ourselves. And boy, does our brain not like to be challenged. Our brain loves to stay in the comfort zone. Our brain loves to stay put, because that's the job of the brain. It's there to keep us safe. It's there to keep us running optimally where we are. And so if we try to move away from that, the brain's like, no, we're optimal right here. We have to get new systems. We have to get new habits over there. And that's going to be hard. That's going to be a challenge. That's not going to be comfortable. That's not going to get us, the thing that we want with this operating system, this current way that we're operating. So once we start to do that, our brain likes to fight us. It always happens. You start the diet, you're on it for a week, and then you go right back to it. You start dating again, but then you start picking apart every guy that you meet. Then you start applying for jobs and you get offers, but they're not good enough. So I don't want to do that. So you start to really feel like, okay, I'm trying to do the things that I want, but it's not getting me to where I want to be. That gap right there is all that stuff that we need to start examining. And all of those things require us to really look at who are you? Who is it that you are at the soul level, not the programming that we've received, not the, the little bit of envy or jealousy that we might have because other people have more, because other people have what we want, not that version of ourselves, but really getting into the core of us. And that to me is that center, that love, that compassion, that person who just emanates pure love and joy in everything that they do, which seems like it's pie in the sky, but I promise you, I've walked people through the process. I've been through the process many, many times. And when you come out on the other side, you just recognize, oh, this new version of me is just going to kick. This new version of me is going to be, and it's not about changing who you are because you're bad, or changing who you are because you are doing everything wrong, or there's something wrong with you, or there's something broken in you. It's really about pulling out the true version of yourself that's hidden beneath all those stories that we've told ourselves, and living from that place. And that person is constantly evolving. That person is constantly shifting gears because we're always going to be unearthing another program, another story, another belief. So the work is always unending, which is why I say manifestation is easy, but becoming the person who consciously manifests, it's a lifetime of work. So while reality flows outward, strategic planning actually flows backwards. So this is where we get into my little engineering brain part. And so while the flow of things is be the person who has the thing, do the things to have the thing, and then you have the thing that you actually want. My method is to actually reverse engineer from that place of have. Clearly identifying what you want. Now, I had a masterclass on defining what you want, and there's many ways that you can define what you want to have, and that like all the ways work. But it's really getting to the core of what is it that you want. Being able to define that specifically is really going to do a lot to hypercharge your manifestations, because having this nebulous idea about what you want is actually never going to give you that thing that you think that you want. So what does that mean? That means, oh, I want more money. You tell the universe, I want more money. Okay, well, you find $1 on the road. Ooh, you manifested more money. It's like, wait a minute, but that's not what I really wanted. So I take you through a process called the 5 whys. Now, I love this tool because it really gets to the heart of what you want. Ask yourself, what do you want? And if you have a notebook, write down one sentence, what do you want? Now, it can be in any realm. It can be money, love, health, wealth, whatever. It can be anything. Just write a sentence. And now ask yourself, why do I want this thing? And be real with yourself. I want money because I want to pay my bills. I want money because I want to travel more. I want money because I want to be rich. Whatever it is, be real with yourself. Okay, so that's the first why. Now, you've identified the why you want that thing. So, but why do you want that, which you think that money's going to give you? So, for instance, you said, I want money. Okay, why do you want the money? I want to take trips. Okay, why do you want to take the trips? Well, I want to take the trips because I would like more adventure in my life. Okay, see, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting to the definition of what it is that you want. So that's the second why. We're going to go a layer deeper. So ask yourself, why do you want that thing again? Why do you want more adventure in your life? Or why do you want to be rich? Why do you want the whatever it is that you're going down? Why do you want that thing? And so we're going to keep asking ourselves why for 5 times. And you're going to get to a place where you're just like answering kind of in a loop, that it gets circular, that it gets to a place that's really the deep down core feeling that you're going to embody in the third step. So in my example, all right, I want more money because I want to travel more, because I want adventure, because I would like to explore the world, because I believe that sitting at home, I'm not becoming more cultured. So after about 5 whys, you really get down to what is the belief that's playing in your head that you think money, the relationship, the job, whatever it is will get you. And so when you break all that down, it comes down to what is it that you think that thing is going to get you? And it takes about 5 whys. Sometimes there's a little added 6th or 7th layer, but really just hone in on digging in and being real with you. Nobody's reading this. Nobody's saying it's right or wrong. Nobody's saying, well, you're bad for wanting this thing. It's your deepest desire. So now that you have now that you're clearly identified what it is that you want to have, I want to have the feeling of being cultured. I want to have the feeling of having a partner in my life. I want to have the feeling of whatever it is. Okay. Now we step into part 2, which is the do. And now we start to calculate, okay, well, if I want to be more cultured, or I want to be in a relationship, if I want to do this stuff, okay, what are the things that I actually need to be doing in my life that is aligned with that? So I want to be more cultured. Well, actually, I could go to museums, or I could read some classic novels, or I could watch YouTube video on this. Like, I can get the feeling of cultured already happening in my life. So you see how we're moving towards how to be, right? So we start to identify, what does a person who is cultured, that they have the culture, what are the things that they do? Okay, well, they study art, for example. Okay, so you can read books on art. And that will get you to the place where we do step 3, where now I get to feel like I'm cultured, because now I'm going to do the things that are cultured. And just that culture is going to naturally come. It's going to produce more opportunities to travel. It's going to produce more opportunities to, even have experiences that I never thought that I could have, because you're not limiting yourself to one.
It's idola. It's
Oh,
idola. I'm in blank for that.
oh, sorry about that. So it comes down to, you identify the core thing that you want to have. Like, what is it going to get you? And that will backtrack into, you can now start to map all the things that person does, because you have more of a definitive answer about what you want. And then you can embody that, because now you step into that identity. You step into, okay, being cultured, or being in a relationship, being loved, being this thing, being healthy. I can actually do that now, because the doing of it doesn't seem so foreign. It doesn't seem so difficult. It doesn't seem so like misaligned with who I am at my very foundation. So we reverse engineer it. So you can actively cultivate your core state without waiting for external permission. I'm going to say that again. You can actively cultivate that core state without waiting for external permission. Because when you're waiting for the external to come and make you feel whole, you're saying, I need permission to feel whole. And the thing that's going to give me that permission is the money, is the relationship, is the job, whatever you're trying to manifest. That's the thing that's going to finally give me the permission to be whole, to be happy, to be joyous, to feel loved, to feel cared for, to feel secure, to feel safe. And we want to cultivate that before. So the first is always spending time, a dedicated time in your day. It could be when you wake up. It could be in the middle of your day. It can be at nighttime before you go to bed. But always thinking, I am that person. I am that person. I am whole. I am cultured. I am rich. I am this. Now, audit the things that you're doing. Audit, okay, am I eating in the manner that would be conducive to somebody who's healthy? Am I showing up to job interviews my authentic self? Am I putting myself out there with my friends and family so that they can hook me up on a date with someone they know? Am I doing the things that align with who that person is so that I can finally come to be that person who has the thing that I want? And you speak to yourself as the person you are becoming. Okay, so if you want to be in a relationship, you speak to yourself as a person who's in a relationship. You speak to yourself as a person who gives love. You speak to yourself as a person who has a business. You speak to yourself, because that's number one. Number two, number three is that self-talk. Is how would you speak to somebody who has those things? Would you give them your respect? Okay, well, are you giving yourself respect? Would you give them, curiosity behind how they did things? Give yourself that curiosity and how you're doing things. Don't beat yourself up because you're not doing the things that you said you were going to do. Be curious about them. Show yourself that love. Show yourself the compassion. Show yourself that inner being, that person is in there. And so taking these three different pillars is really talk to yourself from the moment that you wake up in the morning to the time you go out at night. Look at everything that you're actually doing and talk to yourself the way that you would talk if you already had that thing. I'm not saying talk to other people like that. I'm saying talk to yourself like that. So it comes from the inside out. So that self-talk is very important. And finally, to me, something that I have always, always, always felt, I've lived, I've seen people live this, is never to wish your life be easier. Wish that you were better. And that doesn't mean that you're bad, but it means that you're evolving to the person who can handle the challenges. It's the person who can evolve to be the problem solver. It's the person who's resourceful. It's the person who is being the creator that you were meant to be. And really leaning into, I don't want my problems to go away. I want to be the genius that I know I can be, that's going to figure it out. And leaning into being a creator, leaning into be a conscious manifester, you're going to find that life is going to continue to throw those programs at you. You can give up and just be where you are and have the things that you have, but eventually those things will go away too. So coming from a place of, I want to be a creator. I am a creator. I am a great creator. I create everything in my life. And coming from that energy is what it means to want to be better. Always stepping to that next level. Always stepping to the person. Today I can handle 2 challenges. Tomorrow I'm going to handle 3. Tomorrow I handle 3. The day after I'm going to do 5. And always really expanding who you are and coming from that place. So again, it's not about being better because you're bad. It's being better because you have a birthright to be your best self in every aspect of your life. You have a birthright to create whatever you want. You have a birthright to live the life that you always fantasize about. It is your birthright to have everything you've ever wanted and more when you start to live with the principle of be, do, have, and reverse engineering from there the things that you want to have so that you know the things that you must do in order to be the person you have to be. Coming from that place. So, with that said, I created a program for you guys, and it is a 21-day experience. And so the 21 days is a self-guided experience that's designed to help you reverse engineer whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. Anything that happens over the course of 3 weeks, you're going to receive an intentional email that's going to walk you through everything that I just talked about here. You're going to receive exercises, videos, podcasts, weekly booklets, and weekly, I'm going to have you emailing me with the stuff that you create. So I'm actually going to be coaching you in that time. So you're not going to be doing this alone. So it's self-guided, but everything that you produce, you're going to be sending to me so that I can make sure that what you're doing is aligned with the intention of the material and that you're going to be hypercharging anything that you want to manifest. This is kind of just the flow and how it goes. So day 1 through 5, you're going to get the daily coaching emails. They're going to give you exercises, writing prompts, journaling prompts, reflection prompts, so that you can really hone in on what you're doing. Day 6, I'm going to send you a masterclass on the topic of the week. And then on day 7, we're going to integrate it all. So you're going to get a little podcast version of what happened that week. You're going to listen to it, when you're cleaning, when you're driving in your car. It's just going to be so that you keep this integrated and you're going to keep it in your mind the entire time. So it's going to continually be in your mind, being a conscious creator, being a conscious creator, being a conscious creator, and all the things that we talk about. So, and each week will have its own focus. So again, we're reverse engineering. So week 1, we're going to talk about getting very clear on what you want to have. I'm going to lead you through the 5 whys exercise. I'm going to lead you through different exercises and how not to define what you want to have and really hone in on that. So once you have that, you're going to send that to me and I'm going to critique it. Not in like a critical way, but in a way to enhance it so that it feels more genuine, so that it comes from a place of authenticity and real manifestation precepts. Now, second week is do. Understand the actions, the habits, the things that we want to do. How are they going to support the things that you want to have? And in that process, we talk about how do we even get divine inspiration? How do we even get to that place? How can we generate more ideas? How can we generate ways in which we can be creative? How can we generate that creativity? And that week is my absolute favorite week. And then the final week will be on being. We step into the identity of the person who already lives, moves, chooses, and receives the things that they want. So every week, you're going to be emailing me what you've done because you're going to get coaching from me. You're going to receive a little video of me, talking about your document that you send. And everything that you do is going to be supported by me. So you're not going to be doing this 21-day experience alone. So, even on here, I tell you guys what you're going to get. But really, what my hope is that you learn a process. So this process, even though I'm taking it 3 weeks to do this process, you can really do it in a couple of hours. You're not going to be spending hours a day doing this document. You're not going to be spending, 45 minutes, 3 hours writing, meditating, doing all these different rituals. No. These are simple tools that you're going to do, that you're going to learn how to do them quickly. It takes maybe 10, 15 minutes a day to do this. I think The most intensive part of it is reading the email with the directions, but the actual action is going to be super simple, and you guys are going to get an entire toolkit that you're going to be able to do on your own over and over and over again to really, really lean into your manifestations and getting more of what you want, really popping up with things that just so surprising and so filled with like excitement that it's going to be amazing.